Just before Neal speaks, I thought most of you know him, Neal. How many know Neal here? How many don't know who Neal is? A few of you. Okay, so Neal Black, if you go to the back wall there, you'll see how Neal is related to our congregation. He's part of Power to Change, and he left here, Campbell River, and we've supported his ministry with Power to Change. He's also now half-time with the Vineyard in Canada. Is that still true?
10 hours a week.
10 hours a week,
Yeah.
which is half-time. And he's helping, he's part of the national team of the Vineyard, and so it's really great to have him here, and he's going to share just sort of what's going on, I think, with you and you.
Yeah,
and,
I'll give part of that to you.
Okay. So that's why we've got him here, and he's a good friend, and as you heard, he was part of our beginning of our ministry and a real encouragement over many, many years, all 25 years of it. So Neal, let's give him a hand, okay?
I've got this one up here. Wow. Just give me a minute. During worship, I was already crying. This just feels like home. And so for June and I to come back here and not only see the people we know, but meet new people. I mean, these chairs are a lot closer than they used to be. They were back there, and now there's all these people around. And but I did see like Chelsea and Jessica sitting together there. Like that was a picture we'd see so often. And not all of you know they are, but they were from quite a while ago as well. And we were there when Barry and Nancy, when they were commissioned 25 years ago, and we didn't know the plans. But 19 years ago, on this very spot right here, is where June and I, our lives, the trajectory of our lives changed. And it was because of Nancy. I'll get back to that in just a minute on there, but let me take you back. We came to Campbell River. I pastored for a number of years at the Baptist Church, and then we stepped out of that and we took over Cornerstone Book and Music. So we had the bookstore for several years, and we saw a lot of you in the stores. During that time that we had left the Baptist, and we had friends of ours that just became Christians, and we thought that Barry and Nancy's home group would be a good place for them to land. So I called Barry and said, hey, can we bring them? We'll come with them and just get them introduced to your home group. And we did. And June and I really liked it. So the next week, I phoned Barry and said, Barry, hey, we think it would be good if we came again just to help them get acclimatized. And Barry said, yeah, you can come. And then the third week, I phoned Barry, and Barry said, Neal, you don't have to ask. You guys can just keep coming. And we did. And that was our entrance into the vineyard and being able to be a part of the vineyard. And there was so many people that had an impact in not only our lives, but I think of Gloria, and I think of Jane, the impact you had in our girls' life. Phenomenal. They continually go back to those years and the impact that you've had on them. And they're still going forward. They're loving Jesus. They're now loving husbands that they have as well. So that's happened too. And Charles and Ann, I just saw Charles and Ann just a few weeks ago, and they are doing well. So that's great. They were the ones that did start the church here. And then Barry and Nancy took over, and that was fun to see them. But what happened was, 19 years ago, I was speaking like I'm doing today. I spoke a sermon, and then at the end of it, I said that God is speaking to you, and what you need to do is take the next step. What is God saying to you? You need to take the next step. And I drew an imaginary line up front here. I said, you need to take a step across there, and we'll have people pray for you and be with you. And people came. People came forward. And it was just amazing. It was just a neat time. I was really enjoying it. And then Nancy messed it up. Nancy walks up to you. You know that look when Nancy's walking up to you? She looked at me and she said, "What about you?" I thought, "You jerk." We were doing really well until that happened. And that started a trajectory where we said, if we could do anything, what would we do? And we said, we have a heart for the family. And God moves. 2 days later, we received an email from the director at that time of Family Life Canada, who's part of Power to Change. We'd only met him once, 20 years before that, but here's what the email said. "I want to know if you have a heart for the family. If you do, I want to talk to you." That was it. Even I could catch that one, okay? On there. That still took, I know a number of you remember, it still took us quite a while, didn't it? It was a lot of prayer and a lot of discernment and a lot of feeling. Could we do that? And it was going to be, Mindy was going into grade 10, Aubrey was going into grade 12. Who in their right mind would move their daughters at that time? So we gave them veto power. We said, if one of you says that we shouldn't move, we won't move. And we spent a whole weekend praying. And it was at that time, we finished praying, the girls went upstairs. June always has been my coach with the girls. They went upstairs, and she looked over at me, and she went, I was walking up the stairs when I asked, "What am I doing?" And she said, "You're going to talk to your girls." Okay. I went up, I came around the corner, and there's Mindy, and she's crying. And sitting beside her there, that was Mindy. Aubrey comes in. Aubrey doesn't even have to know what the reason is you're crying for. If she sees somebody crying, she just starts crying. So the three of us were crying there, but they said, "Dad, we're 100% behind you and Mom. We believe this is God." And we moved. And that was 18 years ago that we moved to Langley to be a part of Family Life. And Family Life works with presenting Jesus through the avenue of family. I also now work with Athletes in Action. So the chaplains that do CFL and the NHL and soccer camps all around. My role now, June and I used to do a lot of speaking at marriage events. Now what it is I do a lot of coaching and training and facilitating with our staff. June now takes care of our two grandkids Monday to Friday. So her role is from about 8:30 in the morning till about 5:30 in the afternoon. She takes care of them. So she stepped out of that role with Family Life, and I'm continuing to do that and be a part of that. But my real claim to fame is none of that. My real claim to fame is that, and Barry and Nancy, you guys don't know this. The rest of you don't know this. I now read 10 books a week. 10 books a week. To my grandkids. That's who I read. Sometimes the same one. You get that? Over and over and over again. And Paul, if you're back, can you put up that picture of there? And we'll show you, this is the family. They're there. So on this side, that's Wes, my son-in-law, and then Phoenix, Jax, Aubrey, self and June, and Mindy. And then Mindy and David just got married. They just celebrated their first anniversary. And they're in Europe right now. They're in, where are they at right now? Greece? Now, so he's from Romania. So they took some time in Romania to visit his family. And they're over there. And then Phoenix and Jax, so they're upstairs. My office is downstairs. They're upstairs. They don't fully understand that, of why Papa is downstairs on there and not upstairs with them. So Jax, the only thing with Jax, I mean, he's always with me. He always wants Papa. He's always there, except when it's the choice between me and food. The way to his heart is through food. So if I can say, Grandma's got food, bye, Papa. And he's off into there. So That's, and now Aubrey and Wes just moved within a 5-minute walk from where we are. So they're that close now. And Mindy and David are about a 10-minute drive away from us. So that gives you an idea of hopefully family and some of the ministry that we're doing. But what I want to do today is, well, first of all, Barry, I need you as a volunteer, so that's good. So I want you to think about Barry, okay? And then what I want you to do is I want you to think, who do people say that Barry is? Okay, so think in your mind, who do people say that Barry is? Give me some ideas. Who is he?
My great-grandpa.
Great-grandpa. Keep going. What? Teacher, keep going. What? Pastor, keep going. Friend, all right. What was that? Okay. Wow, singer, that part too. The jamboree went well yesterday, or the?
I was going to say Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson. And this is what people say about him. Now I want you to think about, who do you say he is? And I know one of them said, Grandpa, that's there. But think in your minds, who do you say Barry is? So give me some idea. Who do you say Barry is to you? Man of God? Great man of God, servant. Okay. Friend? All right. Bible scholar? So much of this is dependent on the relationship you have with Barry. The exact same questions that Jesus asked. And if you've got your Bibles, it's in Mark chapter 8. Mark chapter 8 and verses 27 to 30, same questions. And this is what Jesus asked. So Mark chapter 8, verse 27. It says, Jesus and his disciples left Galilee and went up to the villages near Caesarea Philippi. As they were walking along, he asked them, who do people say I am? Well, they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, others say you're one of the other prophets. And then he asked them, and this is what he was leading to, but who do you say I am? And Peter won the prize. You're the Messiah. And Jesus, being Jesus, the worst self-promoter in the world, said, Jesus warned them not to tell anyone about him. Who do you say I am? That question that's there is, and so I want you to think about it. What difference would that make in your life? If you really thought of Jesus as the all-powerful, very active in your life God, somebody that is all-powerful, but is very active in your daily life, what would that change if you thought that way? You're thinking about it that way. How do we live with this perspective? In 1988, Kellogg's Corn Flakes came out with a commercial, and this is the cover of the box back there in 1988. They came out with a slogan that was really catchy because Corn Flakes, plain, bland, there they were. Does anyone remember what the slogan was that they came out with in 1988? Anybody remember? That was it. That was perfect there on there. Eat them again for the first time. Try them again for the first time. So, and that was the whole thing with, I want to get you to think about with Jesus. Because some of you, he's there, but kind of distant. Some of you, it's fairly active. But I want you, wherever you are, the Bible says, taste and see that the Lord is good. I want you to taste him again for the first time. Who do you say I am? So if you can imagine Jesus as that all-powerful, who you can't put in a box. Just back from here, from this passage, is where Jesus walks on the water. And I know in the song we alluded to that. I love the one in Mark, when Jesus walks on the water. Because you see in that passage, he said he told, in fact, he insisted the disciples get into the boat. Jesus was setting them up. You ever feel set up by God? He was setting them up. He said, they've got to go in there. And then he went up to the hills and he prayed. Now it says in this passage, in this one here, He said Jesus was watching them and seeing them in distress. Isn't that good? So what did Jesus do? He immediately rescued them. No. Hour after hour after hour, 3 o'clock in the morning. He's Jesus. What's he do? I'll just walk on the water. But he doesn't just walk on the water, okay? So this is the part that always got me with this all-powerful God, that's there. He walks out there, he's walking on the water, but it says it this way. He intended to go past them. When they saw him walking on the water, they cried out in terror. But he intended to walk by them. Hey guys, I'm just here to freak you out. Woo-hoo! That is, when I read it that way, I thought, that's the God I want to follow. He is totally unpredictable. You cannot put him in a box. Sometimes the very thing that freaks us out is Jesus. Jesus has no problem with storms. None whatsoever. When the pandemic hit and Family Life staff, I remember us all on a Zoom call, every event got shut down. Everything was stopped. And you'd think on this call that it would be a very solemn Zoom call. You've got 30 staff across Canada, and we're just, now what? Not at all. They want to get out who Jesus is through family. Their creativity came out in so many incredible ways. We took everything online. We started offering free marriage events. Marriage during the pandemic, the struggles were huge. Free marriage events. And then something that we did was parenting events. Parenting events, if you talk to us and focus on the family, they don't go over well. They get canceled a lot of times. People don't, they feel like, well, I don't want them to tell me how to treat my kids, or, well, it's already too late. Or, I've got one kid this age and this age, how are they going to do it? Or one shows up and the other. So a lot of them got canceled. So they came up with some creative things for parenting where you could download the material for a period of time and just watch it. And then they had Q&A online when you can come back on. Remember what I said? We went from canceling a lot of things. We've carried this over, parenting conferences online. The last conference, I just asked and I said, Michael, how many people were signed up for our last parenting conference that participated in it? And he said 2,300 households. Pandemic, the storm, to Jesus, it's nothing there. But like I mentioned, marriages struggled. And we experienced a lot of that, of marriages that did not survive. You walk with those people, you try and help them. But every once in a while, and this happens quite often, there's somebody like Brett. When the conferences open up again, Brett, he was like a lot of men when it comes to marriage conferences. They don't want to go. Very reluctant to go. But this one was given to them, so he felt obligated. Brett was not a Christian. His wife is a Christian. And the issues and struggles at home were pretty obvious to everybody. Brett decided he was going to go. And during the weekend, Brett heard about marriage. And he got asked the question about, who do you say Jesus is? And it was at that event that Brett didn't receive just marriage help. He became a Christian. He became a Christian, and then he started working on his marriage. When you become a Christian, does life get easy? No. It doesn't. So you're still working on your marriage, but he got help from his church. He got help from the people around him, and we have started hearing reports back from Brett and their marriage healing, and then we just got a report back. Brett, just 2 weekends ago, was baptized. And he's taken that step. And we're hearing stories over and over again of those things happening. Because sometimes the worst storm is between the person sitting beside you. So I'm going to ask you this question. What storm are you facing right now? That if you really believed and lived that Jesus is the all-powerful God involved in the details of your life, what difference would that make in that storm right now? There's one other thing about Jesus that I wanted to highlight, and here's the thing. When I was at the store, and I was teaching a Sunday school class, and this was at the Baptist church, and I was teaching the Sunday school class to teens, and it was all about Jesus. So, I mean, that was the best topic. I just loved it. It was all about Jesus. And I had all these teens in there bored silly. I felt I was the worst teacher in the world. I could not get them. They were just bored. They had all the answers. You know, you want to talk about something? Oh, yeah, it's this. Week after week. I mean, I thought I was Barry. I would have come to you and said, I'm done. Like, buddy, you take over. Somebody, take it away from me. I was in the store, and you remember Cornerstone. A lot of you remember it. I was up at the till, and one of the kids came in. He was in Cary High. His name is Drew. Drew was not a Christian, but he liked Christian music. So he always came in and he bought Christian music. He'd listen to it and he'd buy Christian music. And Drew came in that one day. There's other people in the store, and he said, Neal, he said, I got a new tattoo. And I thought, man, Drew and I had been friends. Like, we got to know each other. So I said, Drew. I said, Drew. I made the mistake. I said, Drew, show me your tattoo. He whipped off his shirt right there at the till. It was his whole back. It was his whole back. It was all bones and skulls. It was all in there. He showed it to me. He was just so excited. I still remember the women over here looking over here what was going on there and seeing what was happening there. But Drew he finally put on his shirt again, and then it hit me. It was that God moment. I said, Drew, would you come, not this Sunday, but next Sunday to my Sunday school class and see if my class can tell you who Jesus is? He said, okay, I'll come. So that Sunday I went to the kids there and I said, hey, a friend of mine, he's from Cary High, his name is Drew, he's going to be coming next week and I want you to explain who Jesus is. After the class, I was accosted by those kids. They said, you can't bring Drew here. Why? Do you know who Drew is? I said, yeah, he's a friend of mine. No, Drew is the coolest kid in Cary High. Like, he's got a snowboarding contract. He's sponsored. You can't bring it. I said, too late. He's coming. So the next Sunday, I bring him in. I walk in with Drew, and I was just, that classroom they were quiet. And they were all looking on there. I did not have anything rehearsed with Drew. I didn't tell him. But I thought, okay, Drew's sitting right here. I said, hey, Drew, I said, before they tell you who Jesus is, maybe you tell them who you say Jesus is. And he said, Jesus was this really cool guy. He walked on water. He turned himself into a loaf of bread. I was trying to keep that, not ready for that one on there. Well, okay. So, class, how about you explain to him who Jesus is? It was terrible. They were worse than terrible. They came at it from this crazy theological point of view, got into the Trinity. Drew kept asking him questions. What do you mean? He's who? He's what? So he went on the cross, he committed suicide? No, he didn't commit. What? Oh yeah, but you said he was God, and he was here, and he was there. Drew just kept throwing questions back, and they were dumbfounded. We ended the class, and I took Drew. We're driving home to his place, and he says, hey, Neal, I kind of feel that probably wasn't who Jesus was. You're right. And we had a great conversation. Drew graduated, and I don't know where he is, and I don't know where he is with Jesus. But I think about him a lot. The next Sunday, I went back to the class, and I said, hey, give me some feedback. Remember one, Leanne, she said, you made us look like idiots. And I thought, yeah, you are. No, I didn't say that on there. But from then on, they were into that class. They wanted to discover about Jesus. Jesus, not just theologically, but theologically, how does that impact you? Theology is so important, but when it impacts you, not when it's just left on the page. And that was what I want to challenge you with. Jesus is probably the most unique communicator. You know, and you see through scriptures, the woman at the well, he spoke a certain way. Nicodemus, he spoke a different way. The Pharisees, he spoke a different way. To Peter, he spoke a different way. And for us at Family Life, we really believe in that. So it's neat for us to have Korean speakers and Chinese speakers. And just not too long ago, I trained several indigenous couples to be speakers for Family Life. And when you train them, it's one of the most fun times you have. They are the best storytellers around. You take your material that you're going to train them with, you cut it in half, and then take out more, because I don't know. They actually, I initiated things, facilitated, but they taught each other on how they're going to be speaking. And then coming up in this next 2 weeks from now is the handoff. It'll be probably my final time that I'll be training them, because I'm handing it off to an indigenous couple that'll do the training. And they'll be doing. God speaks to us in our own unique ways. And I had fun. June and I were with them. It was a fun time. It was just me and my whiteboard that I had there, and we had lots of fun. And then it was at that point, you know, it was getting really quiet and really solemn. We're kind of at the end of things, and one of them, Glenn, says to me, "Hey, Neal." I said, "Yeah, Glenn. It's not lost on us that you brought a whiteboard to an indigenous event." Okay. Didn't see that coming either. I had no comeback for that one. That was there. But they had an event right after the first time I trained them, and 9 people's lives got transformed. Yeah. And then the couples that were healed in their marriage, it just continued. And now it's continuing more. The events that they're doing, sold out. Like, they're booked. Wherever they can get these venues, they're full that they're having. So that's the part that when you guys are praying for us and supporting us, you have a part of that, being a part of what we do. I'm going to ask you the question that I asked 19 years ago. What is God saying to you? What is the very next step that God is asking you right now? What is he saying to you? And maybe he's been talking to you for months. And it's time for you to take that next step. It could be relationship. That's such a big one. What is God saying to you? If you believe that Jesus is the all-powerful, incredible God who is daily active in your life, I'm going to challenge you this week. And maybe this will help. Experience him again for the first time and take that step. If you want prayer